Project Hail Mary is now in theaters, starring Ryan Gosling and Sandra Hüller, directed by Lord and Miller, they of the Lego Movie fame and kind of Solo, Star Wars movie fame. This is arguably the most hyped movie of the year, at least so far. It definitely is, not counting The Odyssey and Dune 3 as of right now, but this is based on a book by Andy Weir, who also wrote The Martian, which was quite popular. This movie is a space movie about Ryan Gosling's character, who basically has to save the world, save Earth. He's a scientist, kind of, and mischief ensues, basically. So I guess I'll say light spoilers. If you've seen the trailer, you know that in his journey to space, Ryan Gosling encounters an alien that is in the form of it's a rock alien, rock man thing. He nicknames him Rocky, I guess. Very, very funny, very clever. Overall, what do I think of this movie? This movie rips. It's awesome. Let me get that right out of the way. But, and there is a but, this movie is just very solid. And, I say that as it comes off negative, but I promise it isn't. This movie is not mind-blowing, but just really, really well made in terms of the almost like simple formula that we kind of have nowadays in the 21st century of space movies where, a guy or a team of people has to go up into space and solve an issue that Earth is dealing with. The performances in this movie, there's about 3 performances really. There's Gosling, there's Sandra Hüller's, and then there's the puppetry done by I think it's a group of 5 or 6 people that control Rocky, the whole movie basically. Gosling he's Ryan Gosling. I don't really think he can ever be truly bad at this point. It's very much a movie star performance. He's quite funny in it. I think he delivers exposition well. He's got great physical humor, along with some pretty good laugh lines along the way. Really solid from him. I don't think it's one of the best things he's ever done in terms of performances, but he does have chemistry with a puppet for the over 2.5 hour runtime. So we got to give it to him there, I'll say. The CGI and the visuals, really, really well done. Again, not something where I was in the IMAX theater and I never thought like, oh wow, I've never seen anything like this before. This is crazy. Never had that thought, but everything on screen looked really good. Some bright colors, really, really nice looking atmosphere. I love the spaceship that he is on. I like the look of Rocky's ship. I like the design. All the design elements of this movie are really good. I will say the use of light is really well done in this movie, I think, because they lean very heavily on the sun, more or less, to kind of go in and out whenever the ship is rotating and it's facing the sun and then it isn't facing the sun. So you get these shots of Gosling in this heavy sparkling sunlight, and then kind of just fades into total blackness, and then comes back into the light and fades into total blackness again. And I thought that was really interesting and unique. And during some of the more tense scenes, there's the red lights flashing in the ship that kind of go from bright red like a Dario Argento movie to just like totally black again. You can't see anything, and then it comes up red again, and then things have changed a little bit. So I think the lighting was one of my favorite parts of this movie. The puppetry work is really good. I don't know how much of it was, a physical performance done by puppets for Rocky, and how much of it was CGI. How much puppetry did they replace with CGI? Who's to say? It seems like a lot of that was, there were people on set in green screen suits, puppeteering like each one of his arms more or less, and it's really well done. There's some funny moments. Rocky kind of ends up almost being the heart of the movie, because I think the more sad and the more happy moments come from things involving his character, which sometimes I think is a positive, and then other times I think it kind of holds this movie back a little bit. I guess I'm being a little more negative than I wish, than maybe I'm coming across. But the reason that this movie isn't like a 5-star masterpiece for me, or even like a 4.5-star fantastic piece of work, I think the script is weak-ish, I should say. This movie is 2 hours and almost 2 hours and 40 minutes, including credits. And yet there are times and there are things that aren't explained that I just wish we had more time with. And I don't know where I would necessarily like cut anything. I don't entirely care about the Earth stuff. The storytelling device of this is that, you know, Gosling's character wakes up from a coma, and he doesn't remember how he got onto this spaceship, basically, or like what his project is, until he kind of slowly begins to remember things. And I couldn't tell if, you know, he was remembering these things along with the audience, or if it kind of seems like he knew a lot of the stuff that we were seeing in flashbacks already. Like, it's just not really dealt with, the memory loss aspect of it, if there is a memory loss aspect, which there definitely is, because he wakes up from a coma. Some very funny physical comedy where, you know, he's been in a coma for however many years, almost, you know, decades at this point, and he can't use his limbs, basically, whatever. He has to get strong. He has long hair, bushy beard, like some very funny stuff. He doesn't know what he's doing, and he's getting drunk on the spaceship because he doesn't know why he's there. And then he figures it out. But there's not a lot of time spent. I should say there's not enough time spent with something like that, where these flashbacks with Sandra Hüller's character, who basically is the, you know, the lead of the mission and assigns him to go to space. Sandra Hüller is very good. I think the flashbacks are well done enough, but for some reason they feel rushed and tacked on at the same time. Like, I almost could have done with, you know, maybe like 20 to 30 minutes of the preamble of, okay, you're, you know, this high school science teacher, middle school science teacher that's kind of a failure of a doctor, and but turns out I think you're actually right, and, you know, we need you for this mission, and so on and so forth. And then he ends up in space, and then the movie kind of happens. I think the breaking up of the story is a little strange, because I do enjoy Gosling's exposition of, you know, when he's in space and figuring things out by himself, or even with Rocky. He does a pretty good job of keeping things at a comfortable level for the audience, where we, you know, obviously we don't know all the words that he's using, but we can follow along pretty easily. And I think that is a success of not only the script, but of Gosling and his movie star charisma. My biggest complaint with definitely comes from the script, and with the script comes for the emotional tugs of the heartstrings that feel manipulative, I will say. And I don't want to spoil, so, you know, I'll keep the heavy spoilers off, but there are 2 or 3 different times where the movie is basically saying, like, you have to cry. Now is the time to cry. And I'm just like, this feels unearned almost. And then immediately it kind of gets resolved a couple times. This happens, and, you know, a resolution occurs. And then that just makes me mad. And I'm like, well, why did you make me feel this way, to just not even have me like sit with this feeling for a long enough time for it to mean something whenever the script changes course back to a more, you know, neutral level, I'll say, of happiness, you know, get rid of the sadness. Again, not trying to spoil. It just feels a little unfair, and that bothers me. Overall, again, solidly made movie. It's no Interstellar. It's no Gravity. It's no insert space movie here, whatever. Interstellar and Gravity were the ones that come to mind, because very similar, you know, a great man must, or a great woman must save the Earth, more or less, by doing something in space. And it's quite a reliable formula. You know, I think the technology is at a point where these movies with a good enough budget, with competently made aesthetics and CGI and people that know what they're doing, these movies could be hits for a really long time, honestly, because they're always going to look amazing. There's almost always something to look at, whether this is Project Hail Mary or something else, where, you know, there's going to be people that see, you know, 5 movies a year or 100 movies a year in the theaters and say, wow, I've never seen something like that before, or wow, this is incredibly well made. I love this. I love the comedy and the banter and the visuals. It's all really good. There's something for everyone in this movie, whether you're, you know, 10 years old or 100 years old. Like there's something. This is a very well-made blockbuster, and I hope this thing makes, you know, $700 million, $800 million. Like, I think it's very realistic. It's a bit of a dead time right now outside of Project Hail Mary. There's not a lot going on at the theater. It's pretty boring. And this will definitely pull in, you know, the average Joe to say, hey, let's go to the movies and let's see Project Hail Mary. Everyone's talking about it. The reviews coming out of it are fantastic, including from this video itself. And I'm sure someone's going to watch this and they're going to go see it. So you're welcome. You know, make sure you thank me. Yeah, but so that's Project Hail Mary. Really solidly well made. 8 out of 10 movie. A popcorn thriller, not thriller, just a popcorn movie that I wish we got more of. This is Amazon MGM's kind of first venture into the blockbuster area, and if you put movies like this in the hands of talented and competent people, Lord and Miller, Ryan Gosling, you know, an Andy Weir novel, you know, all of these things add up to, more often than not, they add up to a success, and this is a success, and I hope the box office rewards that for their efforts. Hope they get rewarded for their efforts, because movies like this, I don't think they should be going anywhere anytime soon, because space epics will almost always capture the attention of your average moviegoer. So definitely go see this if you have a chance. You know, I'm sure you've seen a preview or two for it at this point. I couldn't recommend it enough, even though, you know, not the perfect movie, not gonna be my favorite movie of the year, but who doesn't love a space movie at this point? One of the best space movies I've ever seen. I'll have to make a list of space movies. Shout out Ryan Gosling, man. That guy's awesome. He's killing it. Anytime he's in a movie, anytime. Can he ever be bad? When's the last time Ryan Gosling was bad in a movie? The Gray Man. The answer is The Gray Man. The answer is always The Gray Man. Of course it is. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, review, and subscribe. What? Comment, subscribe, whatever. Who cares? Doesn't matter. Look at me making videos again on a consistent basis. We'll see. Long may it last. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.